Finally, Russell, what is your fact?
Our short-term memory lasts for less than 30 seconds.
I'm not sure this is true, Jimmy. So how do you define short-term memory? Because, like, I haven't got particularly good memory, but my short-term memory is if you said to me, go and buy a bag of oranges, I reckon 30 seconds later I'd remember to buy a bag of oranges.
But you might not remember who for.
And that'd look ridiculous.
And then
I
you
remember the oranges, now I can't remember where I live.
So, if you think of it as different chambers, there's a loading bay for facts, some of which gets transferred to the long-term holding area, and some of which you just need, like, post a letter, go to the shops. And the ways you can get round this is you can force the short-term stuff into the long-term memory.
What, by doing that with your head or something?
Yeah, like, knock it back.
Is that not just by getting older? Does it eventually move anyway by just being older?
No, short-term memory stays the same across your life.
So we're saying every human being, 15, 30 seconds, it's gone, but it's only because it's transferred it to the hard drive.
If it's something that's relevant. If it's like, I must post this letter, the letter's posted, the hard drive goes, I don't think I need to remember we posted a letter, thank you very much, delete. It's
funny, because most of the audience that I go and do stand-up gigs to must have very long-term memories, because every time I do a gag, they shout, heard it. So, Ralph, have you got a good memory?
No, what I do is, I was a handkerchief, I tie a knot in the handkerchief, and then there's something else, so you end up maybe 5 knots in the handkerchief, and the next day you look at them, and you can't remember what the bloody hell they're all about.
The theory is you can force... So the way to do it... Say I said, right, you've got to remember these 20 objects immediately. Most of us wouldn't be able to do it. The trick around it is for numbers 1 to 20, you make those numbers into stories in your head. So number 1 could be a tall man.
Yes.
Number 2 could be a fish hook. Number 10 I think of as Laurel and Hardy, for example.
If I do the same thing,
right.
Mine are different numbers. So I've got 1 is Kelly's eye, as an eye, 2's a shoe, 3's a tree, 4's a door, 5's...
Is that because you can't remember 1, 2, 3, 4 and 5
No, it's because
no,
it's not.
It's not to help you remember how to count. I mean, I have got that nailed.
Yeah.
I can go up to sometimes 20, 25 on a good day.
So I worried a little bit, thinking, Lee can't remember numbers.
I reckon icons, if you think, I remember in history, Willy Willy, Harry Stee, Harry Dick John, Harry 3, 1, 2, 3 Neds, Richard 2, Harry 4, 5, 6, then who?
Are they all the Doctor Who's?
No, they were the kings and queens, of course.
Yes.
And going back to 16...
Can you do that again? I was genuinely fascinated by that.
Yeah, Willy Willy, Harry Stee, Harry Dick John, Harry 3, 1, 2, 3 Neds, Richard 2, Harry 4, 5, 6, then who?
What do you mean, then who?
I can't remember.
Oh, I see. What a great system that collapses at the end.
Yeah, you're halfway there.
You're halfway there. That's fair enough.
Worst feeling as a stand-up is when you've been touring the show for about 6 months, you do the routines, and then you do a bit of improvisation with the front row, and that goes really well, and then you go back and you're like, I can't remember what bit I just did. Where am I in the show? It's the worst. It's like stepping into a lift and there's no lift there, and you're like, I've lost where I am.
Well, this will explain why, if you think of an idea in the middle of the night and you'll think, oh, I'll remember that in the morning, and there's no way you're remembering that in the morning.
You didn't transfer it.
What you do is you scribble it down the side of your
if
bed.
you're organised.
But you write it down, it doesn't mean anything the next day anyway, unless you flesh it out. Because I've picked up my pad one day and it just said that my crumpet face, which is the face that I do when somebody says, do you want a crumpet, is the same as my sex face. And I don't know what I'm supposed to do with that, apart from have crumpets more often, clearly.
I don't want a pen and pad next to my bed in case, in other activities, I get marked. So, Russell Kane told us that our short-term memory lasts for less than 30 seconds. We need to know for sure, so we put it to the test.
Goldfish are renowned for having a memory which lasts only seconds. So, if you have a memory like a sieve, don't worry, because apparently human short-term memory is just as bad. Smells fishy? Well, let's hear from our expert.
The different stages of memory can best be described as mental storage spaces that are handled by different parts of the brain. Short-term memory is partly processed in the prefrontal cortex, and it's essentially the information that we're currently aware of. It has limited capacity, so when our consciousness shifts attention due to interference, for example, then we can lose that temporarily stored information. By reactivating and rehearsing information, we can transfer it to longer-term storage in other parts of the brain, where it can last a lifetime. However, without rehearsing or reactivating, that short-term memory only lasts for seconds and is then gone forever.
For our experiment, we recruited 5 volunteers to test their short-term memory under lab conditions. First, we gave them a basic memory test. Each volunteer was shown 3 random letters for just 1 second and immediately asked to say what they were.
HTQ.
Easy enough. But would they be able to recall the same sequence of letters after 30 seconds? To prevent them from transferring the 3 letters into their long-term memory, the volunteers were distracted with a simple maths test.
I'm going to show you a number, and I'd like you to subtract 3 continually again and again and again, starting from now.
591.
588.
312.
302.
51.
Thank you.
And your letter combination? RXW.
Forgot.
Remarkably, no one managed to remember the 3-letter sequence.
KPR. I completely got that wrong.
That was under lab conditions, but would the results improve in the real world? We invited a new set of volunteers to a cocktail party. They knew they were taking part in an experiment, but didn't know what we were testing. Each of our volunteers was introduced to a group of 5 people who told them their names.
Hi, I'm Rosie. Nice to meet you.
Rosie.
Hiya, Hannah.
Hannah.
Hello.
Well, I'm Nino.
Nina.
Hello, Chris. Nice to meet you, mate.
Nice to meet you.
George, how you doing?
George, how are you?
Okay, before you get too acquainted, you'd like to come with me?
They were then asked to order a drink from a cocktail menu. Once distracted, they couldn't repeat to themselves the new names. 30 seconds later, they were asked to recall the names of the people they'd just been introduced to.
I'll just say Rosie.
Yeah.
Hannah. Nick.
Our first volunteer only managed to recall 2 names correctly. Will our second volunteer do better?
Nino.
Yeah, nice one.
Are you Harry? Jess? Hannah? And I can't remember your name at all. I'm so sorry.
Remarkably, none of our volunteers were able to remember successfully all 5 names. So it looks as though our short-term memory does last less than 30 seconds. Still not convinced? Then can you remember the name of this young man from earlier on? His name was Chris.
So, there you go. I mean, I've heard, genuinely, that chimpanzees have better short-term memories than us. I don't know if you've heard that.
But they don't have much to remember, though, do they?
That's true. Apart from where's me banana and...
That's it.
As my agent rung about the PG Tips advert.
What's the worst you've ever lost your place on stage, Lee?
I was once supposed to be in Northampton and I was in Southampton. In the old days, when you do 3 or 4 shows in one night...
The 1950s were a bastard.
Talking of memory, can I have a pen? I've got to tell them, I must remember not to book Russell again. So that was Russell's fact. So our audience are going to score it using your keypads on a scale of 1 to 10. How amazing do you think that fact is? Now, Russell, let's find out what the average rating from our audience for your fact.
6.
Russell, 6, not bad, is it? Yeah,
5 and 6 twins.